Hey, welcome to I'm Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here today and we have another amazing show lined up for y'all. Today, we have a special guest, and this is going to be a really fun interview because his story is unique and is awesome. He's not only someone that was a pop star in Europe, Eastern Europe, to be very clear on that, but he's also has an amazing childhood growing up. He was a refugee in Chile, but it did stop him from making all the great achievements that he's been able to do along the way. First and foremost, Christian Ray Flores, he is not just a lifetime achiever, but he is a doer. He takes action. He makes things happen. He's a high performance coach. He's an entrepreneur. He's an international recording artist and philanthropist. So first and foremost, Chris, I can't wait to dive into your story. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate your time. So I know I teased the intro of your childhood, how you started. Kind of
Yeah.
take us to that backstory, because I think that's a very powerful story from where you started to what you're doing.
Yeah, it is a crazy story. I was born in Moscow, Russia. My mom's Russian, but my dad's Chilean, and they moved to Chile when I was a baby. And just a few years later, we found ourselves in the middle of this massive civil unrest. There was a military coup. People were put in concentration camps, secret prisons. A lot of people got killed and tortured. And my dad was one of those people that were put in a concentration camp. So, and we were literally one of the few lucky ones that escaped unscathed, in the sense that my dad was not tortured. Obviously, he made it out alive. So we were refugees. I was 5 years old, and that was literally my first childhood memory was my mom passing food through a guard in the concentration camp to him, which never got passed to him, by the way. And then my first childhood memories were with a bunch of families who were lost everything, and they were just trying to figure out what to do next in life in this refugee facility. And that got us traveling rather to Germany, and then Eastern Europe, then Africa. So I spent my childhood in Africa. I arrived there by age 7 after being that was my fourth country by age 7. So I saw a lot of hardships early on. There was a civil war going on in Africa, like a year in. We eventually made it back to Russia, and I saw tanks in the streets of Russia. I lived under the Soviet regime for a while, where entrepreneurship was literally illegal. And it all turned around when the Soviet blocs basically collapsed, and I got a great education there. As a matter of fact, I was got a master's degree in economics, but I went into music because I was musical my whole life, and it was sort of on the surface very impractical thing to do, but I sort of followed my gut. And within a year, I turned into one of the pop artists in all of that territory of 15 different countries, which was the former Soviet Union. And I ended up, starting new businesses. I produced other bands. When we moved to the States, I started 3 businesses here, 2 nonprofits. So it's definitely one of those classic rags to riches story, where I have all kinds of opportunities that came my way, partially not in spite of the hardships that I endured and the poverty I endured, but actually because of them, I think. So that's sort of one of my key core things in my coaching, is that I teach people anti-fragility, how to use the obstacles that come your way actually in your favor, so that you can succeed because of them, not in spite of them.
I appreciate you sharing that story because, like I said, being able to go from that to where you are today. I mean, you said moments ago, having to travel
Yeah.
at such a young age. I mean, I remember when I was a little kid, maybe going to Michigan was my travel, but for
Yeah.
you having to go different countries,
Yeah.
before we go further, kind of touch a little bit more about your experience having to adapt at such short notice.
It was pretty stressful. My dad tells me that I went silent for like a year when we arrived in Africa, because it was just so much so fast. And it's sort of a mix of, I'm young, but I can tell things are bad, right? When you're in a refugee facility, and then you move to Germany, and we get asylum there, and then we go back to Russia, and we live in this communal apartment, sharing an apartment with the family. It's just poverty, right? And then And I was sick there. Oh, on top of that, I got real sick because of the climate. So I was in hospitals all the time. And my mom, as a matter of fact, just said, I think he's going to die if we don't send him to Africa with my dad, because my dad wanted for us to wait for a year. And my mom basically sent me ahead. And I arrived there, and it was just such a change of culture, like different languages, people look completely differently. And my dad was like really worried about me because I was just very awkward for a while because I don't understand how I fit in, right? I don't understand the language. And in the long run, though, that was a great blessing because I learned Portuguese. I already spoke Spanish and Russian by the time I arrived there because of my mom and dad. And when they sent me to this African school, like no expats. I was like the only non-black guy there, and I had to like learn Portuguese in the street and in the school. I was forced to do it. And then a year after that, they sent me to an private school, which is like an expat school, which is all English. So I learned English age 9. By age 9, I spoke 4 languages. And it just really does, as you said, gives you almost like this enhanced ability to read people, read body language, try to fit in, socialize. And to this day, I count it as one of the greatest gifts that I've ever received, is that I not only know how to assimilate and adapt, but I really, truly love people in different cultures, right? I like the music from different cultures. The beats, it actually served me really well when I became a musician later, right? Because I had this African drums thing going on and all kinds of music in my head. But it gives you exposure to such a wealth of the human experience, of culture. So it was definitely a gift in the long run, but very hard in the beginning.
Once again, you're listening to Refocused Radio and watching us online, talking to our guest today, Christian Ray Flores. You go to his website, Xponential.life. We're talking about today's topic, creating a lifetime of fulfillment and high impact. As we are getting to the topic now, looking over your experiences to be able to not just be able to appreciate music, but have it create you a nice little career. I mean, being a pop star in Eastern Europe and not just stopping there, but having multiple businesses, and now you're helping high performance individuals. What you feel is the basic building blocks that help you sustain your success? Because it's one thing to obtain success, but it's a whole different ball game to be able to manage it effectively.
Well, I think for me, the first one is, how do you go from being a little overwhelmed, a little stressed? And I think most of us find ourselves in that state a lot. And we underestimate just how harmful that can be if we don't know how to manage it. Stress is not bad. Good stress is really good. But not knowing what to do with it is sort of the problem in my mind. So the first one for me is, how do you go from stressed out, anxious to creative, energized, and joyful? Because in that state is when you come up with your best ideas, you come up with solutions to the problems that you're facing. That's the state you want to be in. And when I work with my clients, that's the number one thing I go, okay, week 1, I want you to learn how to do this, and I can teach you how to do this literally in a week. If you do the work, you're going to experience a tremendous shift in your energy level, your creativity, your joy. And that's the main building block. You really can't build a different future if you're in survival mode, basically. The second one is how to pick a direction. I think most of us early on, especially when we have success early on, and let's say we have drive, we have education, we get opportunities in life, we move fast and we move in a certain direction because the world is sort of rewarding us for our grit, our talent, maybe our hard work, our hustle. And the minute you start getting bigger, let's say you're managing a team, you're managing a company, you're managing multiple things at the same time in a successful, let's say, product launch, complexity starts to slow us down. And that's where sort of and what we lose is we lose momentum. And when we lose momentum, we lose confidence. So I try to address momentum as a key metric, as a key value, right? You have to figure out direction. You have to figure out, and then what are you going to say no to? Are you going to prioritize? How fast are you going to go there? I think the third one for me would be, how do you deal with the inner voices of self-sabotage, which is a very natural response to any progress. When you're trying to build a new future, a place where you haven't been before, the inner voice of who do you think you are? I think you might be, you might look ridiculous, you might fail. It's endemic. I mean, and it's actually primal to everybody. Like no one escapes that. There's a way to manage that so you can actually beat it and not be really defined by it, right? Which is not easy to do, but there's skills that you can develop. And then the fourth one, I would say for the long-term success part, this is a classic mistake of most people that get successful professionally, is that they over-invest in the outer game, in the skill that they're getting compensated for. It could be an engineer, it could be a financier, it could be an athlete, but they underinvest in the inner game. Both the mindset, also the dimensionality of success. So they usually underinvest in family, in friendships, in community, in spiritual practices, in how to manage your money. So those are the things that are under the surface. And if those get ignored, classically ignored, so eventually they get very successful and then they hit a wall because these dimensions that are actually crucial for your well-being long-term, they get overlooked and you start getting hit by all kinds of things, right? So we have this this scorecard that we use with our clients, and actually we have it available for everyone if any one of your listeners wants to check it out, where we ask them like 40 questions across a variety of dimensions. And the scorecard is incredibly simple, but it's very predictive of where you're going to go and are you going to be successful or not. I can literally tell you, hey, if I see certain things, certain patterns, even if you might be on paper doing well, trouble is around the corner, right? Or you might be going through this almost like messy middle, but you are scoring high across a lot of dimensions. I'm going to tell you, you're going to find success 100%. It's just a matter of when.
When you say that, it makes me think of a lot of times on the show we hear these great success stories, but none of it happened because a person just woke up one day and said, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then, boom, it happened. It was a messy middle. It was
always. Yes.
It was systems that had to be
absolutely
developed.
Yeah.
What is your routine? And what I mean by that is, what are the basic principles that you try to look to apply? Because we have good days and bad days, but what are some of the basic things that you try to keep intact as you attack the day?
Okay, so that's a great question. I have the deepest conviction that if you have a skill set to win the day, you will win in life. It's that simple, right? And most of us, we live on autopilot like 90% of our time. It's the same thoughts, the same actions, the same mindset, the same ways of viewing certain situations. So the first hour is the most important hour, right? And basically what I coach people in my first hour is more like first 2.5 hours, but in the very beginning, your first hour should be 20 minutes of contemplation, prayer, a spiritual transcendent experience, because that gives you self-awareness. It basically sort of breaks the matrix and you start understanding this is exactly how I feel, this is why I'm feeling it, etc. The second 20 minutes is physical activity, because that wakes you up cognitively, your muscles, your body starts being your ally. And the third 30 minutes is to learn something new. Whatever you're lacking, it could be, an adjacent skill, or it could be an area of life like marketing or finance or something like that, or marriage or relationships or networking. I mean, this list goes on and on. You have to invest every single day to stretch your ability to a higher level. And if you do even an hour, and it's that 20-20-20 principle, a day, your day will be different. My day usually starts with probably 2.5 hours of that. So it's supercharged usually, and I am incredibly high performance during the day without being burned out because of how I basically shape the day, not only the first 2.5 hours, but the day itself.
Once again, listen to Refocused Radio and watching us online, talking to our guest today, Christian Ray Flores. You go to his website, Xponential.life. We're talking about creating a lifetime of fulfillment and high impact. And speaking of that, I love what you said earlier about how sometimes we can invest a whole lot on external things, but we don't really invest on the inner person of our lives. And we can easily self-sabotage our potential because of not just being ready. Success can crush you, or it can help you get even more better than where you are right now. So when you look at how you balance not just your life skills, but using creativity as a strategy versus only depending on like the textbook strategy, how do you kind of balance those two?
Well, I think creativity is the ability to see unrelated things and put them together in something that adds value to people's lives, right? So you are the only way to beat AI, to not be replaced by AI, is to be creative. That's really the bottom line, right? So the people that are creative, they will use AI as a tool, but the people that are not creative, and by the way, you can be creative in entrepreneurship, even in accounting. Okay, I don't mean shadowy, sort of shady things, but you can be creative in anything. The only way to actually win in an era of AI that's going to replace millions and millions of jobs is to develop creative lifestyle changes that allow you to add value at a very different level, at a higher level, and then using AI as just a tool that helps you do that.
People, they think of shows like this, and you have a show as well that we can talk about later. They want the hosts to get to the point, get to where the meat is, so that way they're not dragging on. And that, I feel, is a personal skill as well. Because sometimes we can think a good thought, a good idea for our business or for relationships, networking. But sometimes we get caught up in the noise and we just want to drag it and, I'll get to it eventually. How do you cut the fluff, especially as an entrepreneur, to not just get to the point, but understand when's the right time to explore versus, let's just get to the point. Let's cut out all the noise. This is going to sound a bit lofty, right? But if you're not trying to just sell something, but you're trying to improve somebody's life and solve somebody's problem, you will obsess over what's going to get people to really connect immediately, So that saves you, I think, from, dealing in cliches. But it gets you. I'm very passionate about understanding, okay, what makes people flourish? What are the obstacles exactly? And, I have webinars every month. And part of the reason why I have free webinars to every subscriber of my newsletter is not just to serve them and thank them for being subscribers, but also because I get a pulse. Right. So I go, okay, I'm going to address this problem, and I'm going to unpack it in front of 30, 50, 100 people, depending on who shows up. And my goal is always this. I want to cut to the chase. I want to cut to the essence on the pain point and how to fix that pain point. And the longer you do that, the more you almost like train yourself to get to it, and you can see the response. And that's why it's beautiful to be able to have an immediate market response from people that are there to be helped. When I say, okay, here are your 4 problems. For example, last webinar, I talked about how to recalibrate your career. And the 4 reasons, or the 3 reasons, I think I reduced it to 3 because I wanted to unpack them, why people get stuck in their careers. Yeah. And I've done this webinar 3 or 4 times, right? Like every few months I do the same exact topic, but I always tweak it a little bit.
And every time I do it, I go, oh, I think I missed that, or the essence of the issue is this. So I add that to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. So after a while, everything you say is gold, right? Because people go, man, that's exactly how I feel. How did you know this? And it's because, you care about people. You want to solve their problems. You don't want to just, pontificate.
Mm. And I love what you said earlier in the show when you was talking about your childhood, when you was moving around. You love people, different cultures. You love the arts of music. And I think those things, they give you reason. They give you weight to do what you do, especially as a professional, because it kind of gives you that human approach that you're not just so robotic, like, I'm just transactional and I'm not going to transform anything but, my wealth or whatever. My next question would be is, you also are host of your own platform, Headspace. Tell us a little bit about that, because I believe that ties into the high impact as well.
Yeah, so basically Headspace by Christian Ray Flores is both a newsletter where I put a lot of text and a podcast where I put a lot of basically video, audio on Spotify and YouTube. And the idea there is I just wanted to be able to have a discipline around sharing content, information, stories, strategies with people who value high success and high significance. That's sort of the audience. I want to have high success, but I want it to be significant. I don't just want to be rich. I want it to serve people and have it and make a change. So everything I do, I try to, in a very disciplined way, twice a week, I post something, right? And I love doing that because I can give it away for free. And if you want to subscribe for like the paid version of it, it's just $11 a month. It's very easy. So it's a way for me to essentially serve the broader community. Maybe most of them won't be able to or are not in a place to join my coaching program, but I can still serve them either for free or for this small subscription every month.
Once again, listen to Refocused Radio and watching this online. Talking to our guest today, Christian Ray Flores. You go to his website, Xponential.life. And speaking of creating content of value that really helps your audience, especially those who might want to warm up first before they decide they want to be a client of yours, I'm going to just be transparent right now. I love watching other people on YouTube. I love watching other resources out there because it sharpens my game. And one person that I've been watching for a couple of years now, maybe a few years now, is Gary Vee. I really love how unfiltered he is and how true he is to his personality. And I feel like what he does is he enables his followings, as far as his viewers, to just be authentic to who you are as a person. When people see you and hear about your story and hear about Chile and all that, they're going to really connect to who Christian is. They're not going to connect to someone who just tries to act the part. And I feel like what's happening a lot in today's world, not to be off topic, but in order to have high impact, I think what's giving people low impact is that they're trying too hard to be that image of what they think success might be. Kind of touch on that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, this is a time where building a personal brand is such a gift. And this is the first time, this is the best time since the beginning of time where a human being can tell his or her authentic story, develop his or hers authentic and specific and unique solution to somebody's problem. It could be a product, a service, or whatever, and then communicate it to the world anywhere at any time, right? So this is a revolution of personal brand development right now. And I mean, one of the things that I encourage every client of mine to even wrap their minds around is that developing a personal brand is essentially reputation at scale. Is you show up, your real self, your true self, and you share the value, the passion that you have, the solutions that you have with people, and it finds the right people, and they send it to each other, and they follow you, and they trust you. And it could be like you said, following you on YouTube, or it could be something more specific, like becoming a client. But it's what a great time to be alive, I think, right? Because I don't really need or want to appeal to everybody. I just want to appeal to the people that I can serve best. And it's a beautiful place to be.
There you have it. Another masterclass brought to you by our guest today, Christian Ray Flores. Make sure you go to his website, Xponential.life. We've been talking about topic creating a lifetime of fulfillment and high impact. Love to definitely have you on in the future. Maybe even talk next time a little bit deeper about your book. But until then, I want to say once again to Christian, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And to the viewers, you spell exponential without the E. It starts with an X. So maybe people are typing it wrong. If they're going to be frustrated. I want to correct that just to make sure.
And I'll definitely put that website address in our notes so you can copy and paste it and make it easy for yourself. So like always, man, thanks again, man.
Thank you so much.